Peggy 18.
¿Qué pasa, chavales? Bienvenidos un día más a QrJuegos. Tengo el excelentísimo placer de traeros otro directo de Metal Gear Peace Walker. Continuamos con Juan, continuamos con el combate contra el Peace Walker. Madre mía. Vamos para allá. ¿Tengo alguna secundaria? ¿Te imaginas que empiezan ahora a darme secundarias a full, tío? Te quedas, no, ¿por qué? Vale. Nada, combate contra el Peace Walker. Evita una guerra nuclear abierta. Y eso. Juan, tienes que evitar que se envíen esos datos. Ya mismo. Nada que decirme, ¿no? Hay premura, hay premura. Muy bien. Por ahí mismo. Está. Next battle. Yeah. Amanda, Valenciano. Tu parlo es valencià, eh? Curiosidad. Vale, eso no suena de voz, ¿eh? Vale, ¿y qué hay que hacer? ¿Cómo lo detengo? Bah, qué dramática eres, tampoco será para tanto. Vale, creo que eso la desperta un poco. Oye, ¿tú te has enterado? ¿Tú también? ¿Qué pasa? No sé. Esta mierda funciona. No sé, yo estoy aquí disparando, pero veo que chorrea cosas. A lo mejor funciona. ¿Seguro que es esto? ¡Ay! ¿Qué ha pasado? Ha hecho algo raro. Es que no veo los números, tío. Estoy yo con la duda. ¿Qué ha pasado? Ah, es verdad, había que tirarlo al agua, es verdad, es verdad. ¿Puedo tirar al agua? ¿Un misilago en el culo? Vale. Voy a reventar. No me acordaba de nada de esto, tío. Me siento, yo que sé, como en una película de ciencia ficción, ¿no? Viendo cosas raras. Hola. Me han pirateado. Está afinando la voz, cada vez está mejor.
That voice. What?
What's going on? That song. Boss, is that you? How in the...
A ghost in machine? She's drowning herself to stop the transmission.
Look!
It's functional compensation. When the human brain is damaged, sometimes it recovers over time. Other parts of the brain take over the functions of the damaged parts. Mammal and reptile were patterned after different parts of the human brain. When those parts were assembled together into one, they must have become capable of functional compensation.
Que gente diga, yo estoy en el Pentágono, empiezan a salirme simbolitos de padre y digo, me han hackeado.
Her memories remained with her. Is this her answer? The song.
It's clearly not thinking rationally. It's not using its head. It's using its heart.
This is the fate she chose for herself.
The boss's innocence has been proven. Do you hear it, Snake? Do you hear the boss's song?
You saw it, didn't you? When you went to space, that there's beauty outside of battle.
Es verdad, que de vos estuvo en el espacio.
At last, I understand. In the end, it was you who put down your gun and chose instead to sing. They can all hear you, I know they can. And your will shall surely live on. That's what you wanted. So much that you gave up everything you had. But you couldn't achieve it. Isn't that right? And still, all you can do is sing. There's no peace to be found anywhere. And so, we can only keep on hoping.
La bandana.
Hoping for the illusion we call peace.
Oh. ¿Y eso qué es? Ah, la radio. Analógica, ¿eh? Ahora, ya está. Oficialmente se acaba, bro. Muy bien. Nada. 10 minutos de directo. Se acabó. Fin. Ah, ya está. Yo ya se ha acabado.
Snake, you still here? Come on. Let's go back.
I'm not going back.
¿Cómo que no?
I'm done.
Snake, you don't mean...
I'm done looking for the truth.
What are you saying, Snake?
I was wrong.
Come on, boss. Everybody's waiting for you.
She betrayed me, Kaz.
She what?
In the end, she put down her gun. And when she did, she rejected her entire life up to that point, including me.
What do you mean?
In giving up her life, she abandoned everything she was as a soldier.
And you consider that betrayal?
I won't make the same choice as her. My future is going to be different.
Then...
Yeah, that's right. From now on, call me Big Boss.
Arde, mundo, arde. Muy bien. Me gusta. La ilusión de paz. Vale. Ha recibido una insignia nueva. Especialista en rescate piezas categoría C. Vale. Se conoce para recoger 15 piezas de vehículo. ¿Cómo? Ah, vale, se reconoce. Vale, perdón. Joder, me estoy quedando afónico, tío. Hombre, el smoking, yo sé para qué es eso. Hay un mensaje nuevo. Para verlo, vale. ¿Para qué? Si no puedo jugar con nadie. Más esto creo que ya no tiene online. No lo sé. Bueno, a lo mejor cooperativo. Si tuviera algún colega que lo tuviera, a lo mejor sí que podríamos jugar. Pero...
What's up?
It's about Paz. You know she doesn't have any family.
Sí.
She got a scholarship thanks to Zadornov and was living at the dorms. But he was KGB. All signs are her scholarship came from the KGB too.
Sí.
Even if they let him go, she's not going to be seeing any more money.
It wouldn't have been much anyway.
So, I was wondering, what about letting her stay here for a while?
What does she think?
She says she wants to help out. It would only be temporary. She's still in shock. Right now, no one understands her better than we do.
Okay, but Kaz, don't take your eyes off
No
her.
la pierdas
What
de
do you
vista.
mean?
It won't be easy getting used to this kind of life.
I know, Snake. I'm not trying to turn her
Ah, es que
into one
Juan
of
se lo
us.
huele, yo lo sé. Juan no
You
es
should
tonto.
talk to her yourself later.
Okay.
Juan desde el primer momento le vio los ojos y dijo, esas patitas de gallo.
Strangelove.
Eso no
Well,
es de una
she's out of a
chavala de
job now,
16.
and she'd have a problem returning to England. You can talk to her about it. Anyway, you don't need me to tell you how good she'd be for R&D.
No, yo por mí. Estrincho lo... ¡Hala! A la saca. Mira, uy, lo vas a hacer... Vamos, lo vas a hacer padre. Literal. Hombre, Vladimir Alexandrovich Zadornov. Al trullo, cabrón, al trullo. Vale, a ver cómo está esto. Vale, está... Hostia. Y más de... Claramente. Está un poco subetando, ¿eh? ¿Dónde está Paz? Ah, Paz. Hostia, cocina bien. Y es lista. Sí, inteligencia. Al final no se mete todos en inteligencia, tío. Vale, me sobra uno. Vale, pues tú vete a inteligencia, a ver si en inteligencia tuviera en cabida para ti. Va a ser que no, ¿eh? Estamos ya poniendo el listón alto, ¿eh? 1 y 2. Insertar en la unidad de combate. Vale, ¿quién me sobra? Vale. Ah, no, mira, tengo justo los 100. Hostia, tengo mucha gente, ¿eh? Tengo mucho remanente. Tengo mucho remanente. Vale, ya está todo, ¿no? Vale, perfecto. Y este es el tuyo. A ver cómo están los muchachos. ¿Cómo? ¿Aún estáis de misión? ¿No ha contado? No ha contado. Bueno, vamos a ver el ceque. El ceque lo tenemos prácticamente completo, ¿vale? Que esto es interesante. Ceque. Prácticamente está completo, ¿vale? Solamente nos falta la pieza de armadura. Pero supuestamente... ¿Veis? Me pone ahí sin equipar. Que es una opcional. Supuestamente, ¿vale? Supuestamente así podemos trabajar. ¿Vale? No me haría falta intentar farmear la placa. Así que vamos a seguir, vamos a buscar las misiones. Espérate, porque no he ido, sí, cancelar. Vamos a la Modern Base, que no he ido al apartado de ingeniería, a ver si se puede fabricar algo. ¿Qué es esto? Ah, vale, categoría 4. El lado de categoría 3. Joder. Se nota que hemos metido a Strangelove, ¿eh? Esto ha subido bastante. Está guay. Hombre, este yo lo uso. Este ya no tanto, sinceramente. Hostia, 121 y 135. ¿Qué dices? Madre mía. Me quedo sin pasta. Lo siento, pero no, ¿eh? Además, ¿qué incorpora la nueva mejora? ¿Va a meterle supresor o algo? ¿Por qué no? No, lo dejé por el culo. El escudo. Caja de amor. Modificarla va a hacerla más duradera. Nah, me cago. Me cago. Paso a gastar dinero por el culo. Mira, antes mejoraría el Walkman que eso. Vale, secundarias. Te tengo. Cita con Paz. Solo Snake. Un jugador. Límite de tiempo. Ninguno. ¿Alguna más? Que te has comido la Claymore, tío. No te voy a dar una S. Eres demasiado manco. Uy, mierda, le he dado. Uy. Recibido, gracias, Uy. Ah, no hay de qué. Al menos ahora puedo decir que te ayuda con algo, ¿sabes? Puedes usarlo en las misiones externas también, y eso. Selecciona CQ cuando estés formando tu unidad. Y asegúrate de probarlo antes, ¿eh? No sea que la cagues. Vale, gracias, tu Gio. Puedes cambiar las armas y comprobar las placas de memoria como antes. Pruébalo primero y haz ajustes necesarios. No está todavía terminado, ¿no?
Snake, we fitted Zeke with its own AI pod. We were having trouble adjusting the AI, but Dr. Strangelove was able to get it up and running.
No me acordaba yo de que tenía
Why
ya.
the surprise, Snake?
Whoa.
Claro,
we're
ahora
an
trabajan
army without
codo con
borders.
codo.
We need a deterrent
Y de
against foreign
ahí
intervention.
brotará
That's what Zeke is for.
un zurullito llamado
It may
Hal.
even prove necessary too.
I'm not against deterrence itself. The problem is when a nation comes to rely on it. All that does is force a burden on
Pero
its
tú eres la
people.
sueñera.
The same people that constitute
Nunca lo he
the
entendido.
nation itself. The existence of nations is detrimental to man. That's why I, one without a nation, see potential in
Yo creo que esta se casa
But
con
power is required
con
for you to
Hui
distance
y tienen a
yourself from
Hal
nations.
porque se aburre,
I will
¿sabes?
do whatever I can to assist with that.
Glad to hear.
Es de estas mentes privilegiadas, extrañas, que dices, eres tan rara, que sinceramente
I wouldn't
me descolocas.
expect you to.
Vale, personalizo la idea del Metal Gear ya, pero ¿y si no quiero hacerlo? Ahora la cuestión es, ¿y si no quiero hacerlo? Perrier, mira, tienes nombre de perro. Vale, a ver. ¿Qué tenemos por aquí? Un doctor. Otro doctor. Cocinero. Vale, pues estoy entre cocina o inteligencia. Cocina este. Doc. Puede ser. Hombre, Herr Doctor. Yeah. Hostia, tú, un ingeniero. Tírale, tírale. Tío con cerebro. Madre mía, no me lo veo. Bienvenido a la Mother Base. No te será difícil destacar. Aquí todos somos muy iluminados. Hostia, tengo ya casi a tope, ¿eh? Obredo, ¿se me empieza a morir gente? ¿En serio? ¿Se me empieza a morir gente o voy a tener que despedir, eh? Lo que vosotros prefiréis, chicos. ¿La muerte o el despido? Os doy a elegir. Morir como héroes. O haceros un héroe. Unidad de combate, sí. Vale, me sobra uno. Pues este... Ahora, vete a tomar café, amigo. Ok, ¿estos ya han acabado? Menos mal. No sé por qué les ha costado ahora el doble, tío. ¿En serio me estoy meando otra vez? Qué vida más injusta. Lemur is dead. No, se lo conocía. A Lemur lo conocía. La iguana, el cabrón ese está para arriba, ¿eh? Ese no cae, el cabrón. Y, mira, el Maillard tampoco. La iguana, Maillard. Y Alligator. Vamos. Son los la trinidad, los tres ases. Los tres ases. Sí, porque a Gama no lo he vuelto a ver, ¿eh? No sé dónde está Gama. Se me habrá ido de vacaciones. A ver si vemos a Gama por algún lado. Ahí me falta uno. Mira, Hugh está ahí. Muy bien. No está Gama, tío. ¿Dónde coño está Gama? ¿Ha muerto y no me he enterado? No puede ser. Si era uno de mis héroes. What? No está Gama. Hostia, que no está Gama, ¿no? ¿Qué ha pasado? A ver si lo he metido en cocina y no me he dado cuenta. Que soy capaz, de haberlo sacado del frente y haberlo metido en la cocina, a fregar perolas. Hostia, qué raro, tío. Si ha muerto, tuvo que ser ayer a última hora antes de irme a trabajar. Oh, pues eso sí que sería una gran pérdida, porque ese tío iba a full, Iba a full. A ver. Es una gilipollez, ¿no? Mirarlo, pero es que da igual, es que... Sí que me estoy mirando, sí. Ya no lo veo, tío. No lo veo, ¿no? Ah, gama, aquí está. Unidad de combate. Ah, es que no lo tengo asignado. Lo tengo, o sea, está en la unidad de combate, pero no tengo asignado a ninguna unidad. Pues nada, chico. En cuanto pueda te saco de la reserva, tranquilo. No te preocupes, chaval. Hombre, ese es un puto John Rambo, tío. Ese es un John Rambo. Lo metí por meterlo, digo, va, lo voy a meter ahí a tomar por culo lo que salga. Y el tío empezó ya a subir de galones, que me quedé yo, mira, el pavo. Caja de amor de nivel 3. Bueno, mínimamente. Vale, armas. El Lau. Es que mejorar esto me da mucha pereza. Coño, sí que me tengo que ir al baño. Joder, me cago en la mano. Estoy aquí intentando hacer tiempo, tío. Y no puede ser, no puede ser. Esto es una mierda. Almacenamiento de la IA. Vale, ¿esto qué es? A ver, hay 4 tipos de placas. Movimiento contra la movilidad. Las de ataque, el ataque. El del sentido, el sentir, ¿sabes? Y el del control, el del tiempo. Ese me falta a mí. Mido muy mal el tiempo. Hostia. Pues me falta mejorarlo un poco, Falta mejorarlo un poco, ¿sabes? Ahí lo dejo. Hostia. Como, claro, estas son las del pupa. Sí, no, claro, es pupa, crisalis. Esto será... Ah, también es crisalis. Buah, pues... Si tengo que llenar esto... No me suena que tuviera que llenar eso, lo de la IA. No me suena. Te quedé desplegado. Ah, mira, lo de la IA ahí arriba. Joder, tío. Cañón de riel, mira. ¡Ah, que lo tengo todo! Que lo tengo todo, lo tengo todo, lo tengo todo, lo tengo todo, lo tengo todo. No, lo tengo todo. Me sigue faltando el blindaje, tío. Lo veo aquí. Sin equipar. Claro, digo, sí, qué raro si yo... Mira, llevamos ahí el cabezón ahí. Muy bien, muy bien. ¿Cómo molas? Pues nada, vamos a salir. Me voy al baño. Y continuamos. Porque, joder, vaya mierda de hora. 2 veces al baño en menos de 1 hora. Ahora vuelvo. ¿Qué? La he liado, no sé. Tenemos un problema. Zadornov no está en su... Ya se ha escapado. Ya se ha escapado. Si es que no puede ser. No me lo esperaba. Mentira. Ya se ha escapado. Si es que más escurridizo el comunista este de mierda. Era común ese nombre. Sí, hostia. Lo he dicho, sus señoras madres eran un poco originales. Confirmado, te quedaste con 10 personas, todos de niveles. ¡Nah! Espero que no. Espero que no. No me mientas. Dragonfly. Ahora el trullo. Madre mía. Vamos, que no haya la moria. Vale, estamos bien. Vale, tú, unidad de combate. Unidad de combate. Ingeniero, sí. Cómo molas. Lo único bueno que hemos sacado. Este a lo mejor sí que sirve como doctor. Y poco más, 50, 50, 51. Tengo a este. Pues nada, chaval, a la sala de espera. Le tengo a Kojima, a Paz, a Chico. ¿Dónde está Amanda? Amanda, ay, pobrecita Amanda. Ay, de verdad, Amanda, no puedo sacarla del... No puedo sacarla del... De este, ¿cómo se dice? Del... Ya me saldrá. De la enfermería. Anda, vuelve a la enfermería, por favor, Amanda. A ver, alguien que sea decente en inteligencia. Tampoco pido a alguien muy inteligente, ¿sabes? Con que sea algo básico me sobra. Pues sí, me la pongo a este ya. Y a la marcha. Vamos a ver. Esto es lo malo, tiene que estar todo el rato, ala y ala. Bueno, en verdad ya no me hace falta hacer esto todo el rato. Voy a volverlos a mandar, pero ya no los voy a reclamar, ¿eh? No voy a volver a entrar en operaciones, porque me hace perder mucho tiempo cada vez que los mando, tío. Y ahora como que la pasta ya me da igual, ¿sabes? Hombre, la iguana, tú, lo he dicho. La Santa Trinidad. La iguana, el metapod este, el Maillard, Manatí... ¿Este quién es? Se ha muerto. No te conocía. Lo siento, Manatí. No llegamos a ser íntimos. Alligator, el puto amo, el Alligator. Alligator iba conmigo desde el día 1. Y este, te digo yo que este no se coge vacaciones, ¿eh? El Alligator de los cojones, míralo. Este, el Alligator. Vaya crack. Vaya crack el Alligator. Hostia, pues me han matado a uno de los guapos, ¿eh? Uno de los guapos me refiero en el sentido de uno de los buenos. El equipo Bravo. Pero esta va a ser la última misión que nos mandó. Ya, chavales, hasta el Peace Walker no nos volvemos a ver, ¿eh? ¿Volveremos a encontrarnos con Alligator y con Meadow? ¿Quién sabe antes? Vale, desarrollo. Armas. Mina aérea. Desarrollo. PMK de nivel 3. Sí, cuidado, ya mismo. Que eso me va a hacer falta contra el ceque. Ahora cuando nos peguemos con él. Caja de amor, escudo, mate, tal. Por cierto, antes me han dicho que... ¿Dónde era? Que tenía un mensaje en... ¿Dónde? ¿Aquí? Pero voy a tener un mensaje aquí. Espérate que lo mire. Aquí no tengo nada. Mira que les gusta callarme. Pero si dudo que tenga online siquiera. El juego este, me estás contando. Vale. Ok. Vale, ¿esto es misión principal? No. Cita con Paz. Combate contra vehículo blindado Live Type G. Vamos a hacer esta. Luego la cita con Paz. Mi misión de búsqueda. Veo muchos números, muchas letras. Me satura.
Package for you, boss.
What?
Yeah, looks like a cassette tape.
cinta.
Don't worry, it's clean. No trace of explosives or anything. Return address just says Eva.
Eva.
Someone you know?
An old
Sí, sí, una antigua amiga, muy íntima, además.
The plot thickens. Tidings from an old flame?
Don't start, Kaz.
Sí, sí, un antiguo amor.
Anyway, I'll check it out later.
Sí,
Okay, just don't
desprepució
go
a
running
nuestras
off after this
serpientes. Sí.
chick. We can't afford for you to be distracted right now.
Hostia. Well, vale, a ver. Este, combate. Ingeniero. Es que no son nada buenos, tío. 99, 51. Vale, pues este... Vale, espera. Todos 50, tío, ya. El combate, pues este. Ya está, no, ya no voy a reclutar a más gente, ya pasó. Ya está hecho. Vale. Mina aérea. El Lau, el Gustav. Voy a mejorar esta por mejorarla, pero no. Objetos, mate, escudo, tal. Vehículos. Vale, guau, lo deja temblando, Vale, vamos a ver. Joder, son las 3:20, no he hecho nada aún, tío. Vale. Vale, esta consta como misión principal, pero quiero hacer primero la huida. Documentos, joder, macho, documentos clasificados. Vamos a hacer la de paz. Pasa que para hacer la de paz, límite de tiempo ninguno, a ver.
How's Paz doing?
Okay, so far. Still shocked about being lied to by Zadornov, but she's
Yeah.
actually getting along great with the crew here at Mother Base.
Really? That's good to hear.
Still, it's gotta be depressing for a girl her age to be cooped up on an offshore plan all day, even if it is only temporary. I bet she'd love it if you took her out somewhere once in a while.
A ver, el gran líder. Buah, paso ahora, tío. Autobiografía, ¿en serio? Caja de cartón. Wallman. Tanque de cartón. Nunca le he visto utilidad a eso, sinceramente. Hostia, Strangelove, madre mía, tú. ¿Ahora me vas a contar toda tu vida, Strangelove? La situación de Strangelove.
Enter simulation date. August 24th. Location. Selinoyarsk, USSR. Mission. Support a covert agent whose objective is the rescue of a nuclear weapons scientist. Who is the agent? Your student. Your most beloved. Acknowledged. Define current mission progress. With your help, the agent has successfully made contact with the target. All that's left is to wait for recovery. Now, deduce the best course of action. I take the scientist away from the agent. What for? As a gift when I defect. Why are you defecting? To reform my Special Forces unit with my former comrades in arms. No, I don't want to know your objective. I'm asking for the reason. Why are you betraying your country? I do not defect in order to betray America. Betrayal is merely the outcome of that defection. Response time is always slower here. Perhaps she lacks confidence in her judgment. You're a hero in the West. Why should the Soviets trust you? In addition to the scientist, I provide them with a portable nuclear warhead in order to win the favor of a Russian GRU officer.
And then you launched it.
Launched? The nuke? Me?
Sí, el
That's
Little Boy,
right.
¿no? Era.
At a target inside Soviet territory.
Nuclear weapons make my blood run cold. They blot out the future. How could I? Karma. Is it my karma? The karma my mistake has brought upon us? My...
Attention. Discontinue forward
Me
reasoning.
he
Cross-check
trabado.
with knowledge base.
Eso me pasa a menudo, boss, no te preocupes. No es porque seas una inteligencia artificial
Cross-check
limitada.
complete.
Eres un ser
Revising
humano.
conclusion as
Queda
follows.
claro.
I steal the new weapons developed by the scientist and then launch the nuke at the Weapons Design Bureau.
Forward and
Ah, no,
backward
era el David
reasoning
Crockett,
are
es verdad.
incorrect. Attention. Return to forward reasoning.
Affirmative.
Your apprentice returns for the scientist.
I send him away.
Sí, hay que bombardear a Little Boy, que la estoy
I send
confundiendo
my
con
comrades to
el
defeat him.
David
All
Crockett.
of them fail. Even the GRU officer who oversaw your defection
¿Qué les
is
ponen los nombres
defeated
más
by your
raros?
apprentice.
En vez de
Along with
poner
the
el
new
pepino que hace
Now,
hongos. Pues no,
what is your
David
course
Crockett.
of
¿En
action?
serio?
I fight him.
Why? With your GRU patron dead, there's no reason for you to fight. Why not just run away?
I must fight him.
I do not see the reason. With a soldier of your caliber on his side, how could the GRU officer be defeated to begin with? Did you betray him too?
I've been waiting for a long time.
You could switch allegiance from GRU to KGB and take the remaining nuke as a gift. There's no chance they wouldn't welcome a hero of your stature.
Drift away. My place is with them now.
I didn't ask you that. Give me the basis for your reasoning. Tell me the truth.
Politics determine who you face on the battlefield.
Why won't you answer me? It's like you were just waiting for him to kill you.
I was disloyal. Betrayed my country. I deserve to die.
How can you say that? You can't be a traitor. You're not that kind of person.
Kill me. Kill me now.
Stop it! Stop it! Attention! Discontinue reasoning.
One must die, and one must live.
Stop it, damn you! Discontinue!
Life's end.
Coño, pues quita el enchufe, joder.
Shut down!
Apaga, apaga. Quita del enchufe a tomar por culo, coño.
Always in the same place. Her reasoning goes haywire. Someone holds the key. Perhaps it's him. I'll get it out of him.
Se lo sacaré como sea. De ahí que nos torturas, ¿no? En vez de invitarnos a un café y a unos bollos, a unos croissants, no, nos torturas.
She told me everything. Why did she open her heart to me like that? At the time, I couldn't understand it. But now, I think I do. Snake, she wanted you to know the truth.
Es la misma cinta, ¿no? Que nos pone en el Snake Eater.
She saved my life. I've lied to you so many times, but not this time. My orders from the government were to
Se
obtain
está
the
con la música y
legacy
todos, ¿eh?
and to eliminate everyone who knew the truth about what happened. In other words, I'm supposed to kill you. But I can't do it. Not because we loved each other, and not because you saved my life, but because I made a promise to the boss. And I intend to keep it. I just wanted you to know. And you have to live. Snake, listen to me. She didn't betray the United States. No, far from it. She was a hero who died for her country. She carried out her mission knowing full well what was going to happen.
Es que es eso, es que esto nos lo ponen en el... Nos lo pone Eva en el... Bueno, sí, Eva. En el Snake Eater. Por eso yo no entiendo por qué está Juan ahí empecinado. ¿Por qué nos traicionaste de vos? ¿Por qué? Te quedas, coño, pues si lo sabes. Era toda una mascarada para evitar una guerra mundial, coño.
They planned it so that they could get the legacy that Colonel Volgan inherited and destroy the Shagohod at the same time. only a legendary
Sí, bueno,
hero
aparte de
like the
quedarse con la
boss
pasta y todo el
could
rollo,
have
claro,
earned
claro.
Volgan's trust.
De los
Finding
patriotas.
out where the philosopher's legacy was hidden was to be her greatest mission.
Bueno, aquí son los filósofos, ¿no? El legado de los
Everything was
filósofos, aún no
going
son los
according to
patriots.
plan. But then something happened that no one could have
Que
predicted.
luego se cambiarán y se llamará...
Colonel
Bueno, sí, los
Volgan
patriots,
fired
el
an
Lale Dule,
American-made
¿no?
nuclear
Claro.
warhead at Sokolov's research facility. Khrushchev demanded that the U.S. government provide proof that it wasn't involved. They couldn't just abort the operation to steal the legacy. So the operation itself was greatly expanded and revised. The authorities in Washington knew that in order to prove its innocence, they'd have to get rid of the boss. And that one of their own would have to do the job.
El chaparrete,
The public couldn't be
Juan.
allowed to find out about
El que
it.
siempre que dice sí a
Not
todo,
ever.
subnormal que eres. Eres igual que
This,
yo,
they concluded,
gilipollas.
would be the best
Dicen,
way
hay
to
que hacer
keep
esta
the whole
faena.
thing under
Yo
wraps.
voy, no te preocupes, ya lo hago yo.
The boss
Nadie se
wouldn't be
ofrece,
allowed
¿no?
to come
Pues
back
ya lo hago
home
yo,
alive.
tranquilos. Yo
And she
levantaré
wouldn't
este
be
país,
allowed to kill herself.
matándome a trabajar.
Her life would be ended by her most beloved disciple. That was the way the government wanted it. That was the mission she was given. And she had no choice but to carry it out. Her death, at your hands, was a duty she had to fulfill. Out of duty, she turned her back on her own comrades.
Que en verdad todas las vivencias, experiencias, todo lo que ha sufrido Juana a lo largo de su carrera militar le ha servido para llegar a un punto cuando se convierte en Big Boss de decir voy a ser empresario, voy a montar mi propia empresa, un emprendedor. Y se ha montado pues, Militares Sin Fronteras. Todo lo que ha aprendido en el sector gubernamental lo ha aplicado en el sector privado. Muy bien, así me gusta.
That was her final mission. And like a true soldier, she saw it through to the end. But I think she wanted you.
Mentalidad de empresario, ¿eh? Sí, dame, yo aprendo. Y cuando ya sepa de todo, os mando a la mierda y me monto el negocio. Grande.
Not as a soldier, but as a woman. But she was forbidden to tell you herself.
Es que esto ya me lo sé. Encima tenemos fresco el 3 de hace 4 o 5 meses y claro, está lo mismo.
We'll never know what she did. No one will ever learn the truth. Her story, her debriefing, will endure only in your heart. Everything she did.
Mi corazón dice, son las 3:30 y aún no hemos hecho nada. Eso es lo que dice mi corazón.
She sacrificed her life and her honor for her native land. She was a real hero. She was a true patriot.
Mensaje de Eva. ¿No jodas? ¿Qué dices? ¿6 audios? 7. Madre mía, Eva, de verdad, cariño. Te echamos de menos, pero me da a mí que no lo voy a oír, ¿eh?
Hello, Snake. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Oh, ¿cómo se nota que esto sí que es nuevo y lo otro es sacado de archivo?
Nothing much to report from my end. The legacy's being put to good use. Or so they tell me.
Esto sí que me
But
interesa.
enough with the small talk. There's something I need to tell you. You saw the photo that came with this tape, right?
No.
The boss gave that to me 10 years ago. I'm sorry, I should have told you sooner. I probably should have told you right away. But sending it to you hasn't been an easy decision to make. It's taken me 10 years. Once you've heard what I have to say, you'll understand why. That photo belonged to her. I know what you're thinking. What does she have to do with this? You've probably seen it 100 times in the press already. Obviously, it's of the Mercury 7, the first group of American astronauts.
Sí, correcto,
the
sí.
heroes of Project Mercury.
Sí.
But there were actually 8 people in that photo. One of them was edited out, erased, without a trace. That eighth astronaut, the one airbrushed out of existence.
Sí, lo sé.
That was her.
Nos lo dice de vos, sí. En su momento, una de las cosas que nos comenta es que ella fue pionera, de las primeras, la primera mujer astronauta, creo.
The answer goes back even further. 17 years ago. It was the height of the Cold War. The Eastern and Western blocs were racing to develop space technology to match their nuclear arsenals. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite. The Americans were stunned. They'd been led to believe their country led the world in science and technology. That shock quickly turned into fear. If the Russians had the know-how to launch a satellite into space, they could use it to launch a nuclear missile, too. Frantic, the U.S. threw everything it had into the space race. The following year, the Army succeeded in launching the first American satellite, Explorer 1. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration was established that fall. And
Vamos, la NASA. Dilo en cristiano, la
the
NASA.
goal was to send a man into space. And 7 men were chosen as pilot candidates. The media dubbed them the Mercury 7. They were immediately hailed as national heroes, icons of Western space exploration. But after Explorer, America suffered a series of failed rocket launches. Desperate, the government made a fateful decision. Unable to wait for its space program to mature, they'd steal the Soviets' technology, at the same time sabotaging their space program. You know better than anyone how hard a mission that was. The Soviet space program was shrouded in secrecy. Recovering that information would be no easy task. Using the help of an insider, they'd insert a sleeper agent into the research institute, or else recruit one of those insiders to do the job for them. And, if necessary, the mission leader would have to go in and sort things out themselves. Someone was needed with experience, knowledge, and superior intuition. And the only one for the job was the boss.
Coño, pues a mí me suena que esto nos lo dicen en el 3.
Asked for her by name.
Entonces, claro, que nos lo vuelva a decir ahora Eva.
Who could be trusted with the fate of a nation. Who else to turn to but the hero of the Second
También,
World War?
correcto.
It was June 1959. So you see, Snake, that's why she left. That was the top secret mission that took her from you. But her selection ruffled a few CIA feathers. They didn't appreciate the president going over their head like that. The mission was tough enough already, and now the CIA was dragging its feet. She couldn't get anything out of them. No manpower, no information. Left to her own devices, the boss made a decision she knew would come back to haunt her. She decided to tap into the Philosopher's Network. And that's when the wheels of fate began to turn.
Ah. ¿Y la foto dónde está, tío? No la he visto, nano. Me gustaría ver la foto.
The Philosophers were a secret society of power brokers formed in a pact between the US, Russia, and China in the early 20th century. Of course, by that time, the American and Soviet
Esto también lo
branches had already
sabemos, si nos lo
parted
explican en
ways.
el 3.
But there were those among
De
the
hecho, de
remaining
vos es la hija
Russian
del último de los
philosophers,
filósofos.
not entirely happy with the one-party communist state.
Por lo menos de la cúpula
The
original.
boss reached out to them. She arranged clandestine meetings in Berlin, hoping to find a way into OKB-1, the Soviets' premier design bureau. She worked tirelessly to win their sympathy, in some instances using huge sums of cash, in others, by helping them over the Berlin Wall. It was a dangerous game to be playing. The Philosophers had everything on her, and not just information either. She'd given birth to a child on the battlefield, only to have them immediately snatch it
Cierto.
away.
Se la
I
chasca.
know she told you that story. If that child was in the hands of the Soviet philosophers, she'd be putting more than just herself in danger. But she did what she had to do. At the time, the Soviet Union was believed to have an arsenal of missiles far greater than that of the United States. If that proved to be the case, Moscow would be free from the yoke of nuclear deterrence. raising the possibility that the Soviets might actually launch nukes if they felt it necessary. As you know, the so-called missile gap turned out to be a Soviet bluff. Moscow had gone to incredible lengths to perpetuate the lie. In fact, the whole space race was really just a part of an elaborate ruse. Only we didn't know that at the time. She used to joke that even she swallowed the whole missile gap story, hook, line, and sinker. She put her life on the line, for the sake of her country, to prevent nuclear war. And it was because of her sacrificial efforts that America succeeded in placing a sleeper agent inside OKB-1. NASA began to receive huge volumes of technical data from the Soviet program. By the end of 1959, they'd succeeded in sending a chimpanzee named Sam on a ballistic rocket flight. The rocket never left the atmosphere. But all the same, it was a huge success for NASA, restoring confidence in its technology. Then, just when the operation was starting to produce results, the CIA came calling. "You're a war hero," they said. "No need for you to dirty your hands with this sort of black ops. We'll take it from here." In effect, they wanted to reap the rewards for themselves. But the boss didn't object. "My part is over," she said. "I don't care what you do with the data now." It seemed as if NASA was making great strides toward manned spaceflight, while the Russians lagged behind. They even got a report from their mole at OKB-1. "The safe return of Sam has sent our scientists into a panic," he said. Soon afterward, the Soviet Union sent an animal of its own into space on Sputnik 2, the dog QrJuegos, better known as Laika. But
La
Laika
famosa Laika.
was fated never to return to Earth.
Pobre perro.
The U.S. can recover its spacecraft from the ocean upon re-entry. But the Soviet Union only borders the frozen Arctic. They had to bring their spacecraft down on land. How could they soften the impact enough to bring a living creature back safely? The agent reported that the Soviets hadn't yet found a solution to that problem. The plot to sabotage the Soviet space program seemed to be working, too. First, they tampered with Sputnik 4's re-entry. Then, 2 months later, one of their rockets exploded on the launch pad.
Ooh.
They did manage to send 2 dogs into orbit aboard Sputnik 5 and return them safely to Earth. But the agent dismissed it as a fluke. Dogs, sure, but humans? They didn't have the technology. Everybody believed it. Everybody was complacent. Everybody. Except the boss. There was something about the Sputnik 5 schematics they were getting that didn't seem right. Some kind of ejection device on the capsule that didn't quite belong. She couldn't figure out the reason why it was there. What was it supposed to eject? NASA shrugged off her concerns. They figured it was probably meant to eject the flight recorder in case of an accident.
Ahora estoy empezando a pensar y digo, coño, todo esto que más o menos me suena, recuerdo algo, ¿es del 3 que nos lo dicen? ¿O es que estoy teniendo falsos recuerdos de cuando jugué el Peace Walker en su momento? Y estoy mezclando los dos juegos. Pues claro, todo esto me suena. Pero claro, yo no sé si nos lo cuenta de voz o lo leemos en algún lado, o nos lo dicen en algún lado y ahora lo estoy confundiendo, yo qué sé. Estoy durmiendo, tío. ¡Buah! ¿Tengo que oírlos todos? Joder.
The sleeper that she'd worked so hard to place was a double agent. He'd been turned by the Soviets and was feeding the Americans lies. But what shocked the boss even more was why. The CIA's access agent had been taking a large cut of the sleeper's pay. The sleeper felt what little he was left with wasn't worth the risk. When he got a better offer from Moscow, he took it. At some point, the Americans' intelligence operation had become an open book to the Soviets. And contrary to what the sleeper had been reporting, the Soviets' manned spaceflight technology was quite advanced. It wasn't until she infiltrated
Oi.
OKB-1 herself that the boss learned the truth about Sputnik 5. After the spacecraft re-entered the atmosphere, it ejected the pilot, seat and all, at an altitude of 7,000 meters. It was the
Madre mía,
Soviet
7.000
solution to the
metros.
problem of land recovery.
Menudo vértigo.
The mystery device attached to Sputnik 5 was for that purpose. The pilot would parachute down from that high altitude wearing a bulky spacesuit. Crazy, I know.
Hostia, ya te digo, ¿eh?
The Soviets knew exactly how dangerous it was, of course. So much so that they gave Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, a special 2-rank promotion before re-entry. Only Moscow could come up with this kind of plan. With total state control over information, they could easily pretend it never happened in the event of a failure. The boss passed the info on to NASA. It was their worst nightmare. The glory of mankind's first spaceflight was about to be stolen from them by the Soviet Union. It was Sputnik all over again. And the CIA was caught no less off guard. Their ineptitude had caused the fiasco in the first place. The Soviets' deception was brilliant. They'd woven a masterful tapestry of truth and fiction to convince the Americans their intelligence operations were proceeding as planned. No one but the boss could have seen through it. It was obvious the Soviets had some gifted minds working on their side. But that certainly didn't excuse the CIA's massive failure. The CIA wasn't done, though.
Buah, estoy pegando una sobada. Madre mía, qué sueño me está entrando, te lo juro.
Luckily for them, a new president had been elected the previous November, John F. Kennedy. As he didn't know the case
Pobrecito,
history
qué mal
when
acabó,
taking
eh.
office, the CIA was able to feed lies to his new administration. They masked their own failures, placing the blame squarely on the boss's shoulders. After all, she'd selected an unreliable sleeper. They claimed she'd failed to make use of one of the most effective means of controlling a sleeper agent's actions: holding their family hostage. The boss was well aware that would have worked. She told me so later, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. It seems clear it had to do with having her own child taken. She could never inflict the same pain on anyone else. The CIA used that against her. In his election campaign, Kennedy had vowed to close the missile gap with Moscow. If America lost the space race, that promise would be worthless. The fact that the president had no links to the philosophers only made things worse. He was completely unaware of the secret networks she'd used to complete her mission. In his eyes, she was no better than a traitor. The fate that awaited her was cruel beyond belief.
Hijos de puta.
The order came down from above. The boss would take the official blame for the sleeper's betrayal. More so, she'd serve as the guinea pig for NASA's manned spaceflight program. By then, NASA had gotten as far as sending a chimp named Ham into space. Now came a whole battery of ground tests to pave the way for a human to take its place. High-G tests, zero-G tests, spacesuit tests, simulations and pressurized oxygen environments. Some of the tests were highly dangerous, too dangerous for the Mercury 7, who were by then already media darlings. So the boss was made to stand in for them. She could have refused the order, argued her side of the story against the CIA, but she didn't. The way she saw it, her military experience made her a potentially valuable asset to those tests. She felt it was her duty to accept. She soon proved herself right. The boss was more than just a guinea pig. She drew on her experience to give the staff focused advice exactly where it was needed. NASA's space program took off again. At the rate they were going, putting a man in space seemed within reach. The higher-ups at NASA were impressed with her talents. They took to calling her the 8th astronaut, the Mercury Lady. The photo I sent you was taken around that time. I suppose maybe they were planning to use it as propaganda, the world's first female astronaut. But then, just as things were looking up, they hit a new snag. The government told them to add a window. There were no windows in NASA's spacecraft back then. Ham never saw the stars around him. But Washington insisted. Their sources told them Soviet spaceships had windows. Space exploration as a form of propaganda in itself. After all, what was the point of sending a man into space if he couldn't tell the world what he'd seen? Most of all, though, they simply couldn't have the Russians doing something they couldn't. It was sheer madness, and everybody knew it. NASA was already facing impossible deadlines. Now they were adding yet another element of uncertainty to the mix. Installing a window would both weaken the spacecraft and make it harder to shield the occupant from cosmic rays. They weren't about to put their Mercury 7 golden boys in that kind of danger. So the boss was chosen as the pilot instead. Even if she made it up into space, she was given less than a 20% chance of returning to Earth alive.
Joder, qué pura potra.
But she took it in stride, even helping them make the necessary design changes to the Mercury capsule. It was like going to work every day at NASA to make her own coffin. Then, without warning, the US received intelligence that the Soviets had moved their Vostok spacecraft to the launch site. The launch was set for the following day, April 12th, 1961.
Buah. Qué chapa. A ver, está interesante y tal, ¿no? Pero te quedas, hostia, qué chapa más grande. Me esperaba otra cosa. Es que no me acordaba lo que te decía Eva. De hecho, no me acordaba ni que salía Eva. Pero vaya chapa, ¿eh? Es que esto, explicado en una buena cinemática... Bien, pero es que así... ¡Buah! Sienta nano como un jarro de agua fría. Bueno, no, ni eso, porque el agua fría en la espalda pegas un brinco de flipas. No, no, esto es más como tomarte una infusión de estas de buenas hierbas para irte a dormir, ¿sabes? Y estás... Así puedes ponerme esto todas las noches. Te digo yo que me duermo antes del minuto 5. Oh.
She was going on a one-way trip. The American version of Laika the dog. And yet she went all the same. Someone has to be first, she said. If fate has chosen me, then I accept. For my country. For the balance of the world. That's how she saw things. My chances may be slim, but I'll take them. I've accepted my fate. If anyone can get through this, I can. Then, on April 12th at 1:30 in the morning, the boss entered space. It was nothing short of a miracle. First, that she'd made it in an incomplete spacecraft. And second, that her flight coincided almost exactly with Gagarin's. As the sun rose over the horizon, and cosmic rays began to bombard her through the window, she saw the Earth. I think you've heard the story before. It was a world without borders, a perfect jewel. All nations, all ideologies. They seemed so far away. It almost made her laugh, knowing that they'd risked so much to beat the Soviets by a few short minutes. If she'd seen Vostok from her window, she probably would have waved.
Pues como todo en la vida, los momentos placenteros son breves y tardas mucho en llegar a ellos.
Gagarin circled the Earth and returned to the Soviet Union, safe and sound. The Mercury capsule, on the other hand, deviated from its planned re-entry angle. The addition of a window had thrown the capsule's aerodynamics off balance. The boss's coffin veered wildly off course and began to plunge earthward.
Oh.